Hello once again, everyone. It's time for another story. This is from Reddit user Rain Throwaway. I had to double check that one to make sure I was reading it right. I like that. An introduction to Princess Lump, my personal high school hell. Oh boy. Hello, Moonhorse. Hello. Sango. She just went to bed, actually. And the most majestic of celestial herds. This is the first story of probably many about someone who has bullied me for the past year, and is still doing it. Ouch. Let's get into this, starting with our cast. Oh, and also grammar and spelling in general are not my forte, so I'm sorry. It's all good. I'll fix it. It's what I do. That's myself. I'm a short, chubby nerd who's good at singing and is a sophomore in high school at the time of this story. This is all kind of relevant later. X, my older brother, he's in the same grade as Princess Lump. He's an easygoing performer with a voice like butter and acting skills to boot. It's obvious I look up to him. The one problem is that he can't say no to anyone or stick up for himself, which has landed him the role of being the object of PL's affection. And Princess Lump, or PL. Not to be confused with Lumpy Space Princess. Did you call her that because all my Legbeard voices sound like Lumpy Space Princess? I mean, it's okay if you did. I just think it's really funny. This is our bully. She's a junior in high school at the time, lazy, and spends her school time either skipping class to vape in the bathroom, or eating instead of taking any actual notes. I swear to this, and my friends in her class can testify to it, that she doesn't even carry books in her bag anymore, just snacks. She's just barely 5'3" and pushing about 300 pounds. She's also very entitled due to her mother being on the Performing Arts Council at school. I'll give her one thing, though. She's a naturally talented singer. Though the constant vaping and lack of practice have kind of caused her voice to plateau instead of improving with time. This is an introduction to Princess Lump. Oh, where to even start? You see, she and I used to be good friends. We'd hang out in the summer sometimes. I'd go with her to get breakfast before school in the mornings. We'd sit by each other in algebra class. I was 1 year ahead in math. Don't ask me even how that happened, because I have the big dumb. Public schools are fucking weird, man. I don't know. And it was genuinely just a good budding friendship. We had the same interest in music, after all. It was only right for us to be allies instead of adversaries, right? Yeah, well, this friendship was toxic. While we were friends, PL was very insecure about her weight, and more specifically, how much she ate. Whenever we'd go for breakfast at the local donut-selling gas station, yeah, we don't have decent coffee shops or cafes in Podunk small town. I feel that. She would buy, and I kid you not, 3 or 4 donuts, a coffee, 2 bags of candy, and a Mountain Dew. Why is it always Mountain Dew? Has the most caffeine. That's what I've been told. It has the most caffeine and sugar out of all the other sodas. That might be why I hate it, because it's bitter as fuck. This is all just for herself, mind you. Then she would badger me, the innocent bystander who wasn't really hungry and didn't have any money anyway, to get something as well, saying that she'd, quote, get it for you. Me, happy because of the kind gesture, would always get a tea or a coffee to sip on, and we'd be on our merry way. I later learned that she would only ever buy me things so that she could tell the nosy cashier that would always ask, "Is this all for you?" that it wasn't, and some of it was for me as well. Some would be an understatement. Try 1%. She never shared anything that she bought for herself, even though she'd absolutely insist that we're splitting it 50-50 to the cashier. But honestly, it really wasn't that bad. What you eat doesn't have an effect on me, at least she got me something to begin with, so, you know. Plus, as someone who now works in retail, why would a cashier even ask that question? It's weird and rude, and I don't know. If that were the only thing she did, though, I'd probably still be friends with her. I definitely wouldn't be telling this tale. I was this girl's living doormat. At the time, I was a super kind person. Too kind, in fact. I would always give people the benefit of the doubt and would never stick up for myself when I needed to. One time at music camp, it was PL, X, and myself carpooling every morning to participate. PL was aware of my presence when it was just me and her, but when X, her true love, husbando, was involved, it was a different story. Here's some of the things that went down at camp, taking place over the span of just one weekend. Number 1, PL made me, her quote BFF, sit in the back while X always took the front seat next to her. 2, she would play all of his favorite songs when he requested them and wouldn't reply when I spoke to her in the car, let alone play music I wanted. 3, she got food on the way home one day and offered to share all of it with X, not even offering me any or acknowledging that I was there at all. 4, I was constantly behind the two of them whenever we walked anywhere, and she would only ever talk to me when she wanted me to snap a picture of her and X. 5, we had made some friends at the event, and they were all members of the LGBT community in some way, shape, or form, which I'm obviously fine with, and I still talk to them to this day. She also seemed to be cool with it when we hung out with them, but after camp, told X that she couldn't hang out with, quote, those kind of people anymore. Oh, how lovely she is. As a bisexual person that was only out to her, X, and a few other people at a time, that really hurt. As a fellow bisexual person, it makes me very sad for you and very much dislike her. Sometimes I wonder about doing a face cam for these things, but then I realize that I'm not exactly the best looking person. But the snark, oh, I hope it's coming through. I'm not happy. They also didn't constantly bring it up or anything. It was just once when we introduced ourselves, that's all. And last but not least, she tried to talk shit about me to X, my own flesh and blood, when I wasn't around to defend myself. She said, and I'm quoting, she's always in a press. She brings everyone around her down all the time. It's so annoying. Dude, she was the one ignoring me the whole time. It's not that I wasn't speaking, it's that I couldn't. I was joking and laughing with X, and my new friends just fine. X responded by just walking away to go and find me. Honestly, I don't blame my brother. He may not have stuck up for me, but like I said, we carpooled every day, and she's the only one with a license at the time, so it's not like we could all just hate each other. Kinda had to keep the peace. Anyway, she did a lot of other things, like spilling coffee in class and laughing as I had to clean it up for her on my hands and knees, but those are just the big ones that stick out in my mind. This story's getting kinda long as it is. Please let me know if you want more, as it gets much worse when I finally stick up for myself, and the end of this friendship, and then beat her in a singing competition. This person is vile and puts up a facade of teacher's pet and sweetheart, but here in the Celestial Herd, I like to think that we'd all see people for who they really are. It's one of our talents. One last thing I'd like to say is a huge thank you to everyone in this community, and to Moonhorse himself as well. Oh, well, I'm happy I could help. Thank you for the goofs, the gaffes, the laughs, the genuine life lessons you've taught me. Anyway, thanks so much for the read. You know, it only occurs to me now that sometimes I do tend to impart knowledge and life lessons onto you guys, and I can't decide if that's actually a good thing or a bad thing, because I am not a good role model. So, you know, there's that. Oh, goodness. Let's talk about our wonderful friend who we've just met here. So first off, I will say that, again, like every one of these stories, there is a grain of salt because we're talking about people who are much younger. But, with that being said, I don't know, I'm sure in other stories that you have, we get more of the leg beardiness, but I can tell you, this behavior, specifically over the weekend that you described, oh, I've seen this before. See, I don't know how many of you have or had neckbeard friends, and I don't know how many of you who had neckbeard friends, or have, going back and forth with my words here, have ever been around those people when they have finally landed their perfect relationship. Because, oh boy, it's a thing. So, I mentioned a few times before this guy named L. I don't talk about him too much because a lot of the neckbeard stories I have about him was when we were much younger, and they don't usually end in the funniest way, so they're not the best for comedy. But L was the kind of guy who, if he thought he was going to get into a relationship, all bets were off. Anything he had to do to try and land this was the only thing that mattered. So, at one point, L became infatuated with this one girl. Now, neckbeards become infatuated with women all the time. That's really not that, amazing of a thing. And I assume it's vice versa for legbeards. I don't know a lot of them, but come on, they're too similar for us not to assume that. The problem is, L hooked on something more than just being a creepy neckbeard. See, the person L hooked on was a genuine sociopath. And she was happy to have him wrapped around her little finger. And when it became incredibly obvious to her that he was the kind of person who would just do whatever she said, or would sacrifice anything to get this quote-unquote relationship of theirs working, then she manipulated that. But myself and others who knew him from back in the long ago times, I don't know why I said times, but then I just decided to go with it. Those of us who knew him way back when knew that was a thing that he started doing. He would just talk shit about people behind their back. He would ignore people who he claimed were his best friends. Anything to push them away because the other person doesn't like them. See, she didn't like that he had friends and wanted that to end. Because if you have friends will say things like, hey man, that doesn't sound like a good idea. And then you might consider that not being a good idea. In which you might start thinking for yourself, and well, we can't have that now, can we? So, he got so infatuated with this girl that is exactly what he did. He alienated every single friend he had for her. And I'd like to say that this ends in some way of and then he realized his mistake and things got better, but no, he still maintains that kind of mentality to this day. She left him after a while of realizing that she could essentially manipulate somebody else, and the new person who she was manipulating could hook her up with better drugs and money, because that was her big thing, was drugs and money. So she just ditched him. And for the longest time, the few people who still knew him, the few people who were still kind of in contact with him, tried to convince him to hey man, just talk to people. Everybody's still, there's still a friend group. We can all come back to this. It'll totally be cool. But no, he still holds a grudge to this day. He's actually one of the few neckbeards who, hates me. The others, I don't think they even care. But he does not like me, because basically this person that he was with told him that I'm horrible and evil, and therefore he must hate me, so he does. And that's it. That's all it really took. But yeah, he still holds a grudge against me. Now keep in mind, that was when I was 19. So he's been holding this grudge for the better part of almost a little over a decade. Almost 2 decades now. So yeah, that's the ridiculous level that we're talking. And this person, it sounds like that. We used to refer to it as going girl crazy back in the day. I don't know if anybody still does that, but she has the boy crazy. She has the anything and everything is worth sacrificing, and that means this guy will like me. And even going so far as to shit talk somebody behind their back. But that's quite a risk to do that to literally their relative, You know, that's some special skill. I don't know if you should have gone that route, homie. But yeah, you did it, huh? Well, I mean, hey, all right. If that's the way you want to be. And don't think I forgot about that streak of homophobia. It's still there. I remember it. It doesn't surprise me, though. It really doesn't. A lot of neckbeards and legbeards can be shockingly homophobic. Some of them can be, like, incredibly racist. So, you know, there's also that. Did I mention they're not great people? Because they're kind of not. That's kind of a thing, yeah. Well, that is a story, and I actually look forward to reading more parts if you want to send in more. This video has gotten really fucking long, so I better end this here. Thank you all for watching. I love you guys so very, very much. I hope you have a wonderful whatever time of day it is. And take care of yourselves out there. It's important. Be safe during the Backstreet Boys reunion tour, as it were. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Okay, now, goodbye.